Hello and welcome to the CRM Zen Show, where we talk about all things Zoho. This is episode 200. I'll see you. Recorded on Friday, May 27th, 2022, from Zenatta Consulting and from Zihuatanejo, Mexico. I am Brett Martin.
And I'm Tyler Colt, and let's get right on into the show.
Yes, we have got our public service announcement. Tyler, our public service announcement regarding Zoho books and broken bank feeds as it relates to some providers, Chase being the big one. We're on week 5. I guess we do have some news this week, though, huh?
Yeah, so the Zoho team has been shooting us some information around kind of where they're at in the process. So as of right now, they have pretty much dialed in all the nitty gritty on the legal and contracting side of getting things moved over and are now kind of full steam ahead on the actual build out for the new integration. That's good news. It's very good news. The contracting and legal side of these things can oftentimes take longer than the build itself. So while they haven't given us a due date quite yet, we're expecting that probably next week. But a big old piece of this with the kind of the legality side has now been closed and completed. So good news there coming from the books team. They are all over this, pretty much all hands on deck from almost all
Plowing
kind
through
of
it.
roles and members of that team. So they're on it like about as aggressively as they can be, and good news coming hopefully here with getting this resolved ASAP.
Fantastic. Well, before we get into the show here, I mean, this was episode 200, big milestone for us, Tyler, a
Very
huge
big
milestone.
milestone.
Episode 100, we wore Hawaiian shirts. This was supposed to be a Guayabera shirt we were going to wear today, so that we could,
It's the closest I've
we could.
got, so we'll go with it.
I'm not quite sure what you've got going
Not
on
the
there, but
stripes. We're just going horizontal instead of vertical, right?
yeah,
We can.
it's got that. It's got that. But this has been my office for the last week. Let me turn my screen around here. If you want to go full screen on me, Freddie, I gotta show. Okay, look at that. Look at that. And oh yeah. Yeah, that is Zihuatanejo there, guys. Anyway, it is just such a beautiful place. My wife and here on our 1 year anniversary, and normally, Tyler, I would have had someone subbing in for me on this, but I was like, it's episode 200. So
So
I'm very
200,
excited.
right? We can't miss it.
Yeah, bonuses to anybody who gets the LCCU title. That's let us know, if you can figure that one out. It took me at least at least a minute. Anyway, so with that and a Modelo in hand, let's get right on in to events. Alrighty. So we've got sign and collect payments instantly with Zoho Sign and Zoho Checkout. That is coming up on Tuesday, May 31st between 9 and 10 p.m. Pacific time. And then Zoho is doing one on Zoho One for Real Estate, Part 9. Zoho and Funbox is coming up on June 8th. And then we'll be doing our webinar on campaigns and marketing automation, the full product tutorial on June 21st at 10 a.m. Pacific time. So a good group of events. And as always, if you want to know more about where to find Zoho events, you can just head to zenatta.com/events and you'll have all the information you need right there. And with that, Tyler, let's get into the news. All right. So we are starting off with upcoming updates for Zoho Creator for May and June. Things that they've released. It looks like some nice ones. They've made some changes in revising developer permissions, API limitations on workflow looping, standard link names of subfields, and they did a select all option for choices and records in mobile apps, which is huge.
Very nice.
Smallest update of them all, but it's just huge. Um, so good stuff. Anything here jump out at you?
Yeah, I mean, I think as like an overall here, of course, developer permissions are great. And you might have different developers that you might want to only allow to work on certain things. So there's kind of in a line of them just adding more criteria that you can kind of control who should be able to do what inside of Creator. If you do have multiple developers, that's really nice to have. If you just have that one person who's the expert at your company, that probably isn't going to matter for you. Here as well, again, with the API limiting here, this is kind of a new rule set that they're putting in around what type of API action can trigger another API action. Basically, they're just trying to prevent scenarios where a function gets caught in a loop right? And blows out all of your API credits in 30 seconds, right? Because there was kind of an unintended effect, right, of a certain API action that you're taking. And then nextly here, they're kind of doing a little bit more around, again, this is mostly for kind of the development side of the house, but just a different way to kind of structure your workflow actions, ideally to kind of again limit the need to be making many API calls all at once. Kind of grouping them into more efficient structures here. So nothing groundbreaking in terms of the kind of backend stuff that they're doing. A big one though here for the users of a creator app is that now if you are working in an app and you're looking at a list view, you can now actually select all and make an update, like a mass update to those records. Especially here as well, if you're looking at, maybe you got a multi-select and you want to pick all 10 options, right? You can just select all, right? And now make an action against all of those records. So for users, that's going to be great. Again, these are nothing too crazy, but just a good stream of kind of product improvements and updates there from the creator team.
All right. And with that, let's move on. And this is kind of nice. Zoho Writer now allows you to post your articles to Medium and Zoho Connect and Desk and Sites directly from Zoho Writer. So basically, this means you can basically write all of your content inside Zoho Writer and just go ahead and push it out. I thought they also had this for WordPress.
They
I didn't
did.
have a chance to look at this. So I don't know if that still exists or not. Kind of looking here. It's not really showing you those things anymore, but I don't know if WordPress
It
is
might have been a
still
plugin. Did they maybe do that one with a plugin on the WordPress side? Because I thought I remember that they supported that as well. The one
maybe.
here that I think is pretty slick too is actually being able to push it to Desk for your
Yes.
knowledge base. Um, while Desk does have like a text editor and the ability to create articles natively in there, I personally at least spend a lot more time in Writer. So for me to get a document formatted, look and feel how I like it, it's just going to be significantly quicker in Writer than natively in Desk. So of course you could write it all in Writer, copy paste it over, right? You could go that way, but just being able to directly plug it in and push that over as a knowledge base article is really slick. It's
Yeah.
interesting what we see with a lot of these kind of office apps, Work Drive, Writer, Sheets, like they really are adding a lot of value to the ecosystem as a whole, right? So Writer is not just siloed into just being doc management, right? It's a place to create documentation and push it, right, to all these different places, whether it's Connect, Desk, your website. So pretty cool stuff there from the Writer and the Office team as a whole. I mean, they're just always busy. It seems like it's never more than a couple weeks between updates for a lot of these products.
Yeah, they are constantly working that team. I mean, the entire, workplace team and all of the different apps, they're never ever stopping. But this is the kind of integration I love to see. And I couldn't
Mhm.
agree with you more. The knowledge base on desk is just sweet,
Mhm.
really, really, really nice. So anyway, fantastic job from the team there. And we move right along with Zoho CRM. So we've got some enhancements for Zoho Motivator. Zoho Motivator is part of CRM now. And basically, what it is it allows you to throw something up on a TV. So you can say, hey, who's made the most calls, who's closed the most number of leads, who's closed deals, who's sent out proposals, whatever you want to look, whatever KPIs, key performance indicators that you care about, you can kind of put them up on the screen. They now are support of the email module. So, hey, how many emails did you send out? That kind of thing. And they've got some provisions for custom dates and date comparisons, which is kind of nice. So some nice enhancements across the board to the Motivator module. Um, we have a few clients that were using the original Motivator and we've got several now on this one. But I'm happy to see that they continue to improve this product because I don't think it's
Mhm.
quite where the original standalone product was as far as kind of some functionality, but it's really getting close.
Yeah. And adding emails is huge.
Yeah.
That's super useful. Oftentimes, we'll build out a CRM for someone, and one of the biggest challenges is kind of getting their team to start actually sending some of their prospecting emails through the CRM. And it's always just been a little limited in terms of like how you can report on those emails that are going out from CRM templates. And so being able to actually have that as one of your dashboard KPIs and run a little competition who can get the most prospecting emails out or those types of things are just going to be really nice here. Most people, if they are going to be doing any types of reporting on their sales team, they want to be able to track all these different types of touches, right? Whether it's a task that gets completed, a call that gets placed, a meeting that's held. And then the last big one that's always kind of been impossible to report on with Motivator was those emails. So really nice addition there from the team. I'd imagine that most people using Motivator are going to want to use that.
Absolutely. All righty. And then moving on, also with Zoho CRM, Zia has a similarity recommendation engine now. I kind of read through this just before the show. Record name and image ascertain a similar record at first glance. This is kind of nice. So you don't have to be exact, right? It's going to give you things that are similar when you're doing a search for a record, which I think could be exceptionally helpful, right? So it seems like a small change, but unless I'm missing anything here, it's basically just going to look for, maybe not exact, but give you something close. Is that correct?
Yeah, in essence. And there's a lot of use cases for this, right? I mean, maybe you're on the phone with a client, you suggested a certain product, they said, "Hey, that's a little too expensive. Do you have anything similar?" Right? So being able to quickly run a search for items that might have similar parameters that aren't identical, but that might fit that same need that a customer has. So there's a lot of those use cases where, something like this is just going to save your team time, right? In terms of kind of like filtering through items on their own. Now you kind of just
Right.
press a button and it'll give you some suggestions.
All right. And then moving on with the news, guys, we've got qualified electronic signatures are now easy with Zoho Sign. So, qualified electronic signature is an advanced electronic signature, the highest level of compliance according to Electronic Identification Authorization and Trust Services (EIDAS), and it provides face-to-face identity verification and of the signatory and a qualified digital certificate issued by the TSP, the trust service provider. Um, this is nice. This is nice. We've had several clients where they absolutely had to have this, and now you got it. At least if you're in the EU, right? I think it's an EU only thing.
I believe so. Yeah, I believe this is for the EU client base. They've
Yep.
kind of been doing this, right? That happened a lot over the past 6 months or so. They're kind of making sure that Zoho Sign is up to snuff with whatever regional kind of rules and regulations apply to digital signature. I know it was a while back they added a certain support for India, right? Now they've added one for EU. I'm sure the US has some kind of work in the pipeline as well. Um, See, it's good. I mean, this is huge, right? If you are in an industry or, maybe your market just requires certain levels of compliance, it's a need to have, right? So just
Yeah.
being able to kind of check that box as a client is doing due diligence on if Sign is going to work for them. It's just one less reason not to use the tool if you're looking for something for digital signature.
Yeah. Excellent. And I know there are some features in the States that DocuSign has. You've got certain, oh, we can only accept this, this, and this. They seem to be, like you say, they're chipping away at those. And I
Yep.
think this is just one of those chips. All righty, and now we've got just a small. This is really another PSA. We've got a compliance alert here as it relates to Zoho Meeting. They are changing their third-party sub-processors used to join Zoho Meeting via dial-in numbers. So all that means is usually you have a whole set of dial-in numbers. They're always the same. Those are always the ones. They're always, it doesn't matter how many meetings you generate. The dial-in numbers are the same. All they're doing is they're putting in the meeting code, and that's letting them in. They switch to another provider, so all those dial-in numbers have changed. So if you set up the email template, right? And again, this is only in the EU. If you set up an email template that's kind of pushing out a general invite, you'll have to update it with these new numbers. So really, nothing much there. And that takes us to our May Zoho People newsletter. As always, good things in here. We just like to highlight this, that it comes out. A lot of people get the newsletter. This is the first time they actually hear that this newsletter has come out. So we kind of want to give you some information around that. They also do on, I guess, May 24th is over. So there was an overview of Zoho People that happened on May 24th. Hopefully you saw that. But the Zoho People team does a great job of keeping this up to date. And so kudos to them. Anything you want to talk about here, Tyler?
No, I mean, a couple little updates that they highlight, kind of an increased ability to export timesheets within certain date periods, and then a couple little sharing permission updates around reports, right? So being able to set up automatic sharing rules. So along with this newsletter, they always do kind of sneak in a couple product updates. So if you are a Zoho People user, definitely go ahead and check this out each time it comes out every month.
All right. With that, let's get to the implementation of the week.
Alrighty, so this is an implementation worthy of episode 200. This is one that took quite a bit of work to figure this one out, but once you have it up and running, it really is a thing of beauty. So in essence, the long and short of this is that, oftentimes when you're working in the CRM, whether you're working a lead or you're working a contact, you just want to have as much contextual data as possible about that lead or contact when you're going to send them an email or you're on the phone with them. An example would be knowing that a lead has visited certain pages on your website might cause a salesperson to recommend certain products or services, right? That might match an interest that they've expressed by accessing that page. So it's kind of a multi-step implementation. So part one here is the web forms on the client website actually had to be set up to capture the Google Analytics client ID. This is similar to like a UTM parameter, right? Like your campaign name, your search term, except it's very specific to that individual visitor, and it's going to persist over time as they visit the website sequentially, right? So if I visited it yesterday and today, I'm going to have the same client ID. Now, that first step, it's just one bullet point here. That can be a whole project in and of itself, right? So that's not exactly trivial, but it is possible with some on-page JavaScript and kind of automation. Now, next, right, once that form is submitted, now in the CRM, I have a lead, and in that lead, I have their Google Analytics client ID. So now what comes next? We want all that Google Analytics data inside the world of Zoho. It would not be practical to write a big scheduled function that's regularly syncing Google Analytics data into the CRM directly as like a module. There's just so much data that it would have to parse through that it just wouldn't be. And what we do is we actually sync in the Google Analytics data to Zoho Analytics. That gives us kind of some bulk aggregate data, but it essentially lets us line up a client ID, which is our person, and then a session ID, which is like the ID of each visit to the website. So next, again, we don't want to pull this data into CRM, but we do need some more data to capture around what they did on the website, right? So the native Google Analytics data tells me that Tyler was on the site for 50 minutes yesterday and 30 minutes today. But we need a little bit more data to kind of get what we're looking for here with the full context. So next we built a scheduled function that essentially goes into Google Analytics, and it looks at all these client IDs and session IDs that are sitting inside of Zoho Analytics, and it gets the rest of the data, right? So now I know that, Tyler was on the website yesterday for 50 minutes and he visited these 10 pages, right, for X amount of time on each page, right? So now I have this big, beautiful database over inside of Zoho Analytics that has all of our client IDs, all of our session IDs, and then information about each of those sessions, including, again, what pages, how long, and when those happened. So now, last but not least, back inside the CRM, inside of a lead or contact record, because we have their client ID, we can actually build a little custom related list, which we're finding tons of use cases for these, similar to what we did maybe a couple months ago in the implementation around QuickBooks data. And so now when you're in your lead or your contact, once you load that record, it actually looks into analytics and shows you in a list all of their sessions with what page they accessed, how long they were there, where they came from, right? So you're able to see, hey, Tyler has actually been to our web services page 3 times this week. Now I'm on the phone with them. I should probably ask them some questions about web services, right? Maybe there's a fit there. Maybe they're interested. And now I can use that contextual information to actually help me close a deal, right? So definitely not an easy build. The team was pretty stoked when they kind of figured all this out and were able to put it together. But once you have this thing up and running, it's a super elegant solution that really gives your either sales team or your support team, really whoever is looking at that record, just a whole bunch more context about what that lead or contact is actually doing on your site and what they might be interested in. So super powerful integration. Definitely took, as Lucas calls it, some force of will, right, to make this one work in terms of some of these custom functions to get that data out of Google Analytics. But it really does hum once you have this set up. And so far, the client is loving it and getting a lot of benefit from this additional context on each of these records in the CRM.
Fantastic. I wish I could comment on this, but there was so much going on around here, that I really wasn't able to pay attention to any of the implementation of the week. Um, but anyway, it's amazing to me what we're able to do.
Mhm.
Basically using APIs, using Deluge, analytics, and it just, we've taken it to a level that I don't think anybody really thought was possible with a lot of this stuff. So who was
Yeah,
responsible for
absolutely.
that one?
Yeah, absolutely. This one was mostly done by Drew and Lucas.
Fantastic. Well, great job, team. All righty. And with that, talking about a great job, team, we're moving on to not one, not two, but three code shares of the week. All right, Tyler, we've got a client script to pre-fill a deal name based on account creation. This is a really handy script. By the way, you can take this to a level um, beyond it. We have it filling in deal name. We have it filling in amount. We have it filling in estimated hours. We have it filling in the campaign source we think it's going to come from. I don't know. It updates dozens and dozens of fields. So every time we create a deal record from within contact to create that, it's basically filling in all of the known information, and then it's taking guesses, because when we do a deal 90% of the time, when I'm like, where did you hear about us, they say, well, we heard about you over on YouTube. And so, I fill that in. Now, if they say to me, oh, no, no, you were referred by Zoho referred you. Well, it's a lot easier to change that one field than have to, so 9 times out of 10, I never have to change it. So this is super useful. Client scripting is something that runs locally. So basically, you're not waiting. Oftentimes you're running a script and you have to save the record and refresh the page and do those things for the actual script to run. Client-side scripting is running real time on the record, and pretty cool stuff. So anything you'd add to that, Tyler?
Yeah, I mean, I think really the only difference to be aware of when you are working with client scripts is that you do have to write them in JavaScript. So for the Deluge nerds out there who are kind of used to doing everything in Deluge, these work just a little bit differently. But this kind of format here, you could always adjust to add any additional fields or data that you're looking to use. It should get you a good start in terms of putting this together in your system.
Well, you know what? I never knew that, Tyler. Wow. So
Yeah, so they're in
clients
JavaScript.
client-side scripting is only, and they're so similar, Java and Deluge, but I just
Mhm.
assumed. I
Well, because it's
just
got to run
assumed.
in your browser, right? And your browser knows how to run JavaScript, but it doesn't know how to run
It's
doesn't know how
not
to run
gonna.
Deluge. But luckily, we've got Tom, we've got Skylar, we've got team members who have kind of dove in and picked up the JavaScript side of things here to be able to get these done. So really powerful stuff, though. I think the only consideration that we do like to highlight is that this doesn't work in the mobile app or iPad because it's not technically in a browser. So that's really the only little edge case thing that you want to be aware of is that these are only going to work when you're using your actual browser to do it.
Yep. And the workaround for that, and it's works fairly well, is if you have like a fairly decent sized tablet, you'll want to have, at least 10-inch, but 12 inches better. Um, you can run the desktop version in Chrome on a browser, and the client scripts work perfectly. So
Yep.
uh, it works really well there. All right, and the next little bit of code, this one is from Tom. Who was that first one from? First one from Greg?
Yep.
First one from Greg. Tom wants to let you know how using Deluge, the sendmail function, to automatically format your email into HTML. What's he doing here, Tyler?
Yeah, so essentially, inside of custom workflows and scripts, sometimes when they are finished, or maybe even midway through the function, you want it to send an email. Sometimes we do this for error checking, right? So maybe you've got a script that is doing something with accounting and it can't fail. And if it does, we need to know. So you might want to have it send out an email if it ever hits an error log. So they're basically cases where inside a piece of code, you actually want it to always send an email. So within here, basically what Tom is walking through is actually how to go ahead and set that up in a piece of code. Also, kind of highlighting that within the Deluge editor, you can actually pull up this little kind of pencil page, and that will allow you to basically format things a lot easier than doing it natively with the code, and save you a little bit of time in terms of getting the email to look how you want it to when you are using the Deluge send mail action.
All righty. And then our third bit comes from Jordan, which is adding better return messages to your custom buttons. This is super, super important. Basically, if you don't add these return messages, you just get a whole jumble of text on the screen once it's done. It doesn't tell you success or any of those kind of things. So this is kind of super important, finding out if there's an error and if it's successful and those kind of things. It just makes it look a lot cleaner, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. And I think it makes it easier for users too. So, like, let's say that your custom button is going to generate a proposal, and you never want it to generate a proposal without a certain field filled in, right? So now in the function, you can actually have logic, right, that defines what the return statement is. So it doesn't just have to say success or fail. It could even say, this field is empty, please fill it in and try again, right? So you can make these pretty specific in order to make sure that if there is an error, if there is some reason that the function can't run when you press the button, that you actually return and let the user know exactly what happened and what they need to change before they try to rerun the function again.
Excellent. All right. And if you have not, please head over to club.zenatta.com. There you will find all of our message boards. And man, it is really jumping. I just love the discussion that's going on in here. So many people participating now. We had hopes, Tyler, that if we were to build this little community, it would kind of take off. And now we're up to 324 members. Does that mean did an angel get his wing? Were we less
I
than
think so. I
300
thought
last
we
week?
were sitting at like 285 or something last
I
time we
believe
looked at this, weren't
so.
we?
I believe so. Yeah. Well, Clarence thanks you because he got his wings. So there you go. Remember, every 100 users, Club Zenatta, an angel gets his wings. But in all seriousness, please go explore our forums. We've got some, we've got a general discussion forum. We've got the code share, which we always talk about. We've moved to the news over there. So, the whole Zoho news is over there as well. And then want to ask us a question, there's a Q&A for CRM Zen. Drop it off there and we will get to it live on this show. And with that, Tyler, let's head over to our read of the week. All right, CRM buyer Dennis Bryant did a really nice piece on the consolidation of Zoho marketing function. This is basically the Zoho Marketing Plus suite, and he has kind of given it. We covered this on the show, but kind of gave it the best write up. Went through the overall dashboard, all of those kind of things. So nice little write up over there from Dennis on the Zoho you know, what do they call it? The Zoho Marketing Plus suite of tools. And if you aren't familiar, that's one of the many Zoho bundles that are out there. And, people are always asking about what bundles they should choose. And if you head over to Zenatta.com, hover over resources and click on Zoho bundles, we break them all down for you. So you can kind of go through the various bundles and figure out which one's for you and what apps they come with and what their overall pricing is. So, uh, good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
All
It's
righty.
interesting to see how Marketing Plus lands as more people start to use it. I haven't had a chance to dive in myself, but the little brand studio that they built might be a really nice value add for people who are kind of looking to bring a lot of those functions together under one roof.
Absolutely. All righty. And with that, let's head over to what's new over on Zenatta. Well, Tyler, we're just celebrating ourself over at Zenatta.com. So great little write-up here. Shout out to Wayne celebrating 200 episodes of CRM Zen, and he even did like a little anagram here at the beginning of the paragraphs. But this is kind of a nice review, and it was kind of interesting reading this morning as he went through and he looked. We launched in July of 2018. And if you go back to the beginning of the show, we actually were called Zoho Zen. Actually, the show was called This Week in Zoho. and Zoho Zen was one of the parts of it. And I think we made it to episode 5 or 6 before we got a cease and desist letter from Zoho. They were very nice about it, but we kind of had to take the Zoho out of our name and the Zoho out of our URL. And so we did that. And then we transitioned forward. We ran 83 episodes where it was just the podcast, which is still where the bulk of our listeners are. They're still listening on the audio podcast. Um, and but we did move to YouTube, which turned out to be just fantastic all the way around. And after 100 episodes on YouTube, we switched to producing this live stream broadcast, which has really kind of changed everything. And we have kept this consistent. I mean, we had a couple hurdles, episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with Zoho and stuff, and we took a little break there. But since episode 6 or 7, we have never missed a Monday. This show drops, the audio podcast drops every single Monday at 6 a.m. Pacific time. The newsletter drops every single Monday morning at 6 a.m. Pacific time. The YouTube video goes live whenever it feels like going live, usually on Fridays now because we recorded it early, just let it go live. But, many people depend on that newsletter, 6 a.m. to find out what's going on in the world of Zoho. Pretty proud of the fact we've done that. And we also want to give a huge shout out to Zoho for all the support they've given us in building this out. We've had some great people from Zoho on here. We had Raju on the show. We've also had some great co-hosts. Let's talk about John Mark Bantek over at Catalyst Connect, Raju Vigneza, of course, from Zoho, Nimbus Designs. We've got Venu. Anyway, great people. This has been a team effort. And it's been a lot of fun doing this show. And we shouldn't forget, Cobra News either, right?
Definitely a pivotal moment in CRM Zen Show's history was the addition of our sporadic Cobra News segment. So
I know, I'm
had to
rather
give that a little
disappointed.
shout out here.
I'm really disappointed I didn't see any Cobra News in the darn lineup today. It would have really been perfect. Um, I don't know. We did get attacked by a butterfly in our room last night, though.
That
But
butterfly
when
news
it
doesn't have the same ring to it.
doesn't have the same ring, it was a killer butterfly. Yeah, but when you're sitting there in the dark and you're on the toilet and it's pitch dark and a butterfly lands on your leg, you could freak out. You know what I'm saying? There's worse
I
things.
could
You
imagine.
envision
I could
you
imagine.
envision it's a cobra just gently licking you, getting ready to strike, but no, it's a butterfly. Oh, all righty. And with that, let's move on to our pick of the week. So, Tyler, I don't know if you have one. We should have talked about this pre-show, but I was talking about it with the team before, and I decided for the 200th episode to go with my favorite pick of all time that we've had on the show. And for me, it's LinkMatch. For you, I think it's going to be somewhat different. But for me, it was LinkMatch. If you are not familiar with this tool, it has absolutely beautiful integration with Zoho CRM. It is $10 per month, and it will basically allow you to go into LinkedIn and click on a person and pull all their contact information into the CRM for you. If you're first level with them, it's going to pull in all of their information. But yeah, if not, it's going to do everything but phone number and email. In many cases, though, maybe you've corresponded with somebody, so you already have their phone number and email. So this will kind of pull everything in: their picture, their company, their title, their LinkedIn URL, their company's URL, their company information. It just saves so much time, and it's so accurate because everybody in here usually affiliates himself with a company, which means the company always has the same name. There's no spelling errors. It is just an absolutely fantastic application. I love it. I use it 10 times a day whenever I'm talking to clients. I always just want to get everybody's information in there. I want to give it in accurately. They also have bulk features and other things you can do, but great app. If you're not using it, if you're in sales, you need to check out linkmatch.net. That's my app of the first 200 episodes. Do you have ones different?
If I were to pick a favorite app, that's a good question. A favorite plugin. It might be Smooth Messenger. It might be Jeremy Nagel and Ethical Text slash Nuanced IT. There's
Yes,
Smooth Messenger for Twilio. That is a fantastic SMS tool for CRM. Could be
I know.
Mapsly though too. When you need Mapsly, there's nothing that does what it does any better if you're doing territory management and mapping. So I've got a couple I think that would be hard to pick between, but they definitely stand above
You
a
were
lot of
gonna
the rest.
I thought you were going to go with sorted from a productivity
Yeah, I
standpoint.
guess if
That's
we're not thinking about Zoho, I do love me some sorted. It is how I keep my inbox under control. So I really
that
can't recommend
sorted
that
is
one enough.
sorted can ban views for Gmail,
Mhm.
basically. And Tyler loves it. So anyway, that is our pick of my pick of the first 200 episodes. And Tyler, you had like 4 or 5, but all of them are great. And with that, let's move on to the tip of the week. Shout out to Greg, who dropped a video on automating Zoho campaigns, automating Zoho campaign topics and assignments based on CRM tags. Nice little video. He kind of covers it step by step by step. Little disappointed, Tyler. Greg is not showing his bright, shiny face on here. That would have brightened a lot of people's days,
It's true.
looking at that little cherub face of his staring at us. Or is that Hunter I'm thinking of? Anyway, great little step-by-step tutorial here, guys. Automating Zoho CRM topics and assignment by CRM tags. That
Yep.
is over on our YouTube channel. If you go to youtube.com/Zenatta, you will find it there. All of our stuff will be there. Man, we almost hit the 5,000 subscriber mark. We'll have it next show. We'll have it next show, but we're at 4,920 plus subscribers. So real close to an angel. So next week, another angel's going to get its wings, most likely, Tyler.
Oh, look at that. How fortuitous.
I know. It's just perfect. It's perfect. You sure you don't want to? I know you're going to be traveling. This is your last show from Cincinnati, isn't it?
This is my last show from Cincinnati. I'll be packing up and moving to Colorado. Basically, the minute that we wrap this up, I will be taking my desk apart and starting to put a bunch of stuff in boxes to take off early next week. So, be coming to
Wow.
you from who knows if I'll be here on Friday. That's kind of up in the air right now. But the next time I'm here, it'll be from northern Colorado. So, it'll be 2 hours closer in time zone, Brett, which will be an adjustment there.
That's nice. And I think a 12-hour drive away or something, right? A little
And
easier.
more like
Still,
18, which is from you
is it
to where I'm going. Yeah, more like
Yeah,
about
because I think it takes me like
17 hours.
7. How far are you from St. George? Because it takes me like 7 hours to get to St. George from Southern California, and then
Maybe like 8 or
it's
9 from there.
really okay. Well, we could all meet in St. George and meet up with the team there. Yeah,
There you go.
there's plans to be made. All right, and with that, let's get to our Q&A. All righty, Tyler. The first question is from Steve Azedadine. Sorry, Steve, if I messed that up. Hey guys, I'm a wholesaler of kitchen appliances, but one way we operate is similar to a retail store. For example, customers walk into our office and place orders and pay over the counter for products and pick it up straight away. Do you know of any POS that integrates with Zoho Books? Thanks.
There's none that integrate directly, like
No.
they not that are going to actually generate you like sales orders for your inventory. I think you can tie in Square, right? But it just does a big bulk of like you made 5 grand today, right? And it just adds that to
Correct.
books. I do
Yeah,
think
you can.
Zoho is working on a POS, so there might be good news on the horizon for you. But yeah, unfortunately, point of sale systems are notoriously unintegrated with other things.
Yeah,
Specifically,
they don't allow
Square.
you
Square
to
does not really plug in anything at all.
Square could crush it if they could make that change. I mean, they really, if they would allow any third-party integration from that transaction data whatsoever, um,
Mhm.
but they really don't. So yeah, so not really good news. But like Tyler said, I mean, I'm told any day now, like which could be weeks or months, this POS is going to drop at least the beta of it, and you can be a
Mhm.
beta tester. All right, Steve Sandor, after watching how to set up a new Zoho CRM campaign sync, says, "Thanks, Wayne. Great info. If contact opts out of a campaign list and that updates their status in the CRM to opt out checked,
Mm.
does that they cannot be emailed from the CRM? Thanks, Steve."
Yeah, you're actually hitting on something that's perfect for this new sync. So previously, Stephen, with the old sync, yes, it will actually go and opt them out in the CRM, which will prevent you from sending CRM emails. Now you could manually uncheck that box in the CRM, but realistically, like if you have a lot of contacts in your database, that's not really reasonable. With the new CRM sync, you can actually set the campaigns opt out to update a different field. It's actually in the initial setup of the sync. We could probably do a video specifically on that because it is a big change and it's a huge improvement, because someone opting out of your marketing doesn't mean they're opting out of like a follow up on a purchase they made, right? That you might be sending from the CRM. But yeah, so now with the new sync, you can actually set it up not to write to the big email opt out in the CRM that will stop CRM emails from going out.
All righty. And then we have a question from Dr. Matthew Weiner. And he asks, thanks again for another great video. And that was after watching our Zoho Forums Everything You Need to Know video. I learned so much from you guys, and I never miss an episode. Well, thank you, Dr. Matthew. I have a question about best practices in sharing forms that utilize the Zoho CRM Advanced field. Currently, the only way that I see to share these is to create an email template in CRM with a link to the form. And then the encrypted link is generated when the template is used to send an email. What if you want to share this link via text or in a Deluge, general email? Is there a way to generate a link other than through an email template? Thanks again for all that you do. Tyler, I don't think so. Is there?
I don't think so for the CRM advanced field. To my knowledge, they don't actually let you work with that field on the public version of a forms link. I think it has to be only the internal version of the link. Now, that being said, what we oftentimes will do is we'll apply like hidden fields to a form, right? And so, like, let's say you were sending out a form related to a certain deal. And when they fill out that form, you want to write that data back to a specific deal. What we'll do is we'll add a hidden field for like deal ID onto the Zoho form itself. And then when you are creating that link to send out via an email template or, via Deluge or via text, you use URL parameters to apply like the deal ID directly to the parameter or to the URL itself. That will then capture to your hidden field. And when you're submitting it, then you run it through something like Flow or Zoho Flow to basically fetch and update whatever record it should connect to. It's kind of a couple steps, but it will get you what you need without having to worry about using the advanced field, which kind of has some restrictions around public usage.
All righty. And then we got a live chat question from Artie Beatty. What are the podcasts you mentioned? Did we mention podcasts? Trying to think
I
here.
think maybe they're asking
I
what to
meant
search
what?
on the different platforms. So if you want to find us, you'll search CRM Zen, right, on any of your podcast platforms.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. So we basically, the audio is everywhere. You can get it on Spotify. It's syndicated to Spotify. It's syndicated to Amazon. Of course, it's iTunes. It's on the entire Android. Yeah, so Google Play, um, you name it, we syndicate the audio podcast everywhere. And the audio podcast, so whatever you're using, you can basically just drop that.
Yeah,
All
and you
right,
want to
and then
search
Greg,
CRM Zen, right?
what's that?
You want
CRM
to
Zen.
search CRM Zen on any of those platforms.
Yep, yep, yep. And Greg Belknap, oh, look at that face. Um, is it the same angel each time, or is there some mega angel with three pairs of wings? No,
Mm.
Greg, that would be some sort of D&D dragon that was concocted in your mind. But no, every angel just gets one set of wings, right? Um, I guess, if you had a particularly large angel, they might want to attach some to his shoulders, some to his butt, give him more lift. I'm not sure how that
Mhm.
works. Seems like a lot of wing coordination going on there, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, I mean, the
No.
physics of that gets a lot more complicated than I think we could cover on this show. So let's just assume that each angel is only getting one pair of wings, just for the mathematical simplicity of that.
Right. Right. I'm glad, though, that we have all accepted the fact that every time we hit certain subscriber limits, angels are in fact getting their wings.
Yeah, we've
That's
agreed on
really the
that
most.
at least as a baseline. Whether it's some
That's
type of eldritch monstrosity or just a little like, cute angel, that's to be determined. But for now, we do know wings are being appended to angels as each of these milestones are hit.
Absolutely. All right, guys, that is a wrap. Thank you so much for 200 episodes of the CRM Zen Show. As we're rolling out here, Tyler, the team put together a whole bunch of just thank yous. By the way, if you look carefully, they spell CRM Zen. We just got some Great shout outs from everybody. This is just a small sampling. We never really talk about these, but man, your love, your kind words, those are what keep us going. And we really, really, really appreciate it. So thank you so much for following us. If you want to ask us a question, head over to club.zenatta.com and drop us a line there. If you want to talk to me or Tyler, head over to zenatta.com and click book a meeting, or just head over there and check out our resources.
And on the website is where you'll find complete episodes of the CRM Zen Show, as well as links to all the stories we discussed today. We'd love if you would follow us on your favorite social media platform and subscribe to us here on YouTube, as well as your choice of podcast app. We'll see you next Friday. It's your last one here before you're back on the plane.
I know, man. I'm going to go get a massage, and I don't know if I tell you, $15 for an hour, man. It's a bargain. So yes, have one every day. So I'm going to go do that, crack another beer. I'll be back home tomorrow night, unfortunately. See you next week. Good luck packing, buddy.
Yep. Thanks everyone for watching.